So I'm going to be talking about building businesses. That's my passion. I'm an entrepreneur. Helped found online entrepreneurship network, which Russians are heavily involved in. And so I'm passionate to pursue building businesses. And so here's some goals for my talk. Hopefully that after this everyone in the room starts a company. Or if not, you at least know you can do it. You're not afraid to do it, or you don't think that it's going to be too hard or too much time or something like that. Or at the very least, you just take a look at entrepreneurship a little bit differently, especially entrepreneurship in a college setting, and see it as something that you can do on your couch. And so, a little bit about myself. I love starting companies in computer science, so I develop software. I love talking to businesses and customers. Most of the time they have complex problems that just require simple solutions, so I kind of like standing at that crossroad. And so, do a brief chronology. So in high school, I started a small consulting company that just did basic IT stuff for just like small businesses in the area. Everything from like computer stuff to email to help desk to you name it. Pretty much that's what I did back in high school, and it worked out pretty well. Made some money, kind of helped me get where I am today. And then applied, got into U of I. Computer science, and I started doing a minor in business early. I didn't want to, I think you have to wait till your sophomore year. I didn't really feel like doing that, so I just started taking all the classes, finished my business minor early. Met a bunch of smart people in my classes. I think that was probably the most critical thing about coming to U of I is meeting other people. I kind of found out that class is pretty boring. I really don't like going to it. I found that in high school I used to always go to class because I had to. And in college I find that I just learn better by just reading the book, teaching myself, or just going to a small group of other students and just learn it that way. So, and also building businesses is fun. And kind of in the mix there, I did a small startup idea way at the beginning. I think it was my freshman year. Completely crashed and burned. Did not work, but it was a great learning experience. So that was probably right somewhere here. And so this previous summer, so I did 3 internships throughout my time at U of I, and then this previous one I didn't do any internships. Instead, co-founded a startup, so Orange QC. We're at Research Park, kind of based on like talking to customers. I needed a product really quick, so went out and built the product in 2 months, and about 6 months later became cash flow positive. So we have a paying customer, developing something that they're using and solve some of their real world problems. So pretty happy about that. So enough about me. Kind of why I think you should build a business now, especially in college. I think a lot of people get bombarded with all this. Obviously it's low risk. There's tons of free stuff out there. Do it while you're still young. For those people that don't get internships, because there's the career fair going on, I would definitely recommend at least starting something or dabbling in something you love. And because everyone does hear all these things, and still I think there's a gap between people that hear all these things and actually go ahead and do them. So I've kind of outlined some of these things that I constantly hear from other people as excuses why not to do a startup while you're at college. And so I'm going to try to go into each one of these and kind of explain maybe a little bit of my story behind it and why I think all of these are possible. And if I miss any of these little arrows, at the end, or interrupt me anytime and chime in so I can hopefully answer those questions. So not enough time. I think that's kind of the key one. And I'm sure everyone's seen maybe a interpretation of this, but there's 168 hours in every week. You factor in a little bit of class, you factor in a little bit of sleep, and you have still a ton of time that you get to decide where it's all going. Obviously between eating, going out with friends, partying, studying, doing homework. You have just a ton of time that you have to allocate. So it's kind of where you get to pick and choose the buckets that the most important. So I definitely kind of take a look at this. I try to look at this maybe once a month, maybe once a quarter, just to remind myself that actually I have a lot of time. It's most of it is just sometimes you just kind of get caught up in the moment. You don't actually see where it's all going. So in short, there is enough time. There's plenty of time. And a little bit of story about myself. So everyone's, well, maybe some of the freshmen don't know, but the unofficial St. Patrick's Day is kind of a huge, crazy thing on campus. So my freshman year, I actually wasn't at U of I for unofficial. So I think it happened on a Friday. And at that time, I was on a plane to Augusta, Georgia to do a consulting project over the weekend. So it was kind of weird. You had to get there super early in the morning. I flew out, missed all day Friday, was there Saturday, Sunday, flew back, and got into Champaign super early Monday morning for my class at 9 a.m. in the morning. And so that was my weekend. Everyone else had really fun St. Patrick's Day, but that was kind of my little adventure of the weekend. And stuff like that I find is really fun, to be able to do that and experience that, because it's something that maybe not everyone else gets a chance to do, and it's something new, different, exciting. So that's a little bit about just allocating time, and even that was kind of crazy, because obviously there's homework, there's other stuff going on, you want to meet with friends and hang out and stuff, and so it's just allocating all those things to make these things happen. And so I don't know how many people have heard of Gary Vaynerchuk, but I would definitely recommend watching his YouTube videos. I'll put a reference slide together of some of these quotes where I'm getting a lot of this stuff, but he very inspirational about building companies, doing what you love, and kind of taking it from there. So, in short, there is enough time. So, no ideas. A lot of people are I really want to do something, I just don't have an idea that I want to build or develop or talk about and try to find out. And in short, and here's kind of the things I've noticed, is that sometimes there's ideas in search of problems, which are good in some point. Like say Twitter, people maybe had no idea what problem Twitter was solving. They're like, oh, let's just have what's 140 characters, 160 characters. People could put it online, and then hopefully maybe people have problems that they'll use Twitter for. But I mean, it is a lot easier to have have these problems that are in search of ideas, because there's infinitely many of them. Everyone has problems, and so I would, if you don't have ideas, ask anybody. Every person, definitely in this room, has some kind of problem, or any of the companies on Green Street. Everybody does. So please just look at these problems and come up with simple solutions to them. So yeah, people in businesses have problems. They love to complain about them, and all you got to do is just listen to what they're saying. And so a little piece of my story. So when I went to Augusta, Georgia over unofficial, it set up some software, was quality control software, and pretty much over a 6-month period, I was the one getting all the phone calls of them complaining, never worked, da. And so I'm writing all this stuff down, because they're the problems. They would be my customer. And this was a third-party software that I installed. And so they were basically telling me what they wanted. I mean, they had the problem, and I just need to build it and give it to them. They're willing to pay for it, and no one else is doing it. So it's kind of just companies and people just hand you problems, and you just got to exploit that, for lack of a better word, and build those things. Let's see. And so here's a little thing of what some other people are doing on campus. It's a very small list of all these things. But even the student laundry service, I'm sure you see them at the ARC. It's not the first laundry service ever to come about, but sure enough, students don't want to do laundry, and so they came up with a business model of students drop off their laundry, and pay X amount, and they get it delivered back at their apartment. And so there's tons of problems. Students don't have enough time. The green roofing startup. There's Merge FM is doing kind of the Wikipedia of music. There's just tons and tons of stuff going on, all about problems that other people are having. So I definitely encourage you to just kind of look at what other people are doing or what they're having problems with, and and build those things.